Hi, Nance Rosen here with principles and best practices of the customer experience. When the customer experiences your company at its various touch points, systems, personnel, products, and services, there is not a simple formula that predicts how the customer will come away thinking or feeling. For example, if a bank teller is snarling, but she efficiently takes a customer's deposit, silently stamps his parking ticket validation, and hands him a loan rate brochure for preferred customers, a lot has gone right. In fact, the majority of the interaction was perfect. However, customer perception isn't a simple addition and subtraction equation. Much like lifetime value and the RFM model, certain parts of the experience are weighted more heavily than others. In the banking scenario, coming face to face with a rude teller might be more negative than the procedural portion of the visit was positive. In other words, 3 rights don't counter 1 big wrong. Of course, this is where the concept of threshold expectations becomes enmeshed in the principles and best practices of the customer experience. Just because you meet basic needs, you can't expect to be rewarded with additional patronage, like customers buying more from your company. But perhaps they will, if the circumstances corner them into it. A deterrent to leaving your company would be the cost or hassle of replacing its products or changing over to a new vendor. For example, certain business systems or equipment are built specifically to not accommodate upgrades or add-ons from competitors. You might manufacture pressure valves that have been designed to require expensive seals only your company has the patent to produce. The very high ongoing cost of buying your replacement seals for the valve rings may raise the total cost and use of the system way above the estimate made when the customer bid the job and chose your company. However, even if the cost is high, your company is counting on the reality that a customer is unlikely to rip out a system of 50 valves, re-engineer the system with a competitor's valve, and shut down a power plant to do it. All of that serves as a deterrent to change. In marketing strategy, we build in these types of barriers to competition whenever we can, so we can hold on to customers as long as possible. This is also known as increasing customer lifetime value. Like patents, proprietary processes, and even a rock star CEO who shows up at an annual customer conference, barriers to competition are employed whenever we can. Being the only place to get something is the basis of the legendary first mover advantage, after all. So, we can erect some ways to keep customers cornered in a pen. Is that good for the customer relationship management? Are these external barriers to competition and virtually forced trade relationships signs of long-term success? Yes, they can be. Sometimes companies erect barriers through incentives. For example, in the insurance industry, a company like Allstate gives discounts for the length of time a customer continues to be insured with them. Even if the customer is aggravated at the way a particular claim is handled, the incentive of a lower premium each year may in effect force a customer to stay. That increases the lifetime value of a customer and revenue and profit. Thus, retention is looking good when it comes to meeting corporate objectives. But what about the effect of these barriers on new client attraction? If your company depends on word of mouth, buzz, personal sources, or crowdsource rating sites like Yelp, angry long-term customers or even shareholders could negatively impact the flow of new customers. Just look at the reviews of companies like Kaiser Permanente, U-Haul, or almost any cable or satellite television company. These companies have customers in contracts, or maybe the only game in town. Consider the 10 most hated companies list compiled by Yahoo Finance. From first to last, they are JCPenney, Dish Network, T-Mobile, Facebook, Citigroup, Research in Motion BlackBerry, American Airlines, Nokia, Sears, and Hewlett-Packard. And those are primarily B2C, or providers of products and services to small businesses. This list doesn't reference the companies where the buy-in is in the millions of dollars, like data storage companies or hardware vendors whose systems are the backbone of banks and financial trading companies. You may work for a company with the philosophy, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And that may fly in the face of things that are really broken. For example, if customers are settling for 3-day turnaround on repairs when the contract promised no more than a 24-hour downtime, then your company may be profitable in part because it is intentionally not staffed appropriately. Think about what it really costs to fulfill the agreements a company has made and thus set expectations, much less the cost of delighting customers. When you don't fix things for customers, you accrue savings on salary and overtime pay for the people you didn't send out right away, and savings on shipping costs for parts that are sent by ground rather than overnighted by air. These are often financial decisions. They even force customers to buy defensively. For example, they might buy spare parts so they have some protection against delayed repair. The decision to negatively disconfirm or disappoint customers isn't done by dastardly people who want to slow the wheels of business. These decisions often have to do with a company's cash management objectives or investment strategies. In confidence, a finance person may speak plainly to you about why your customers are not being well served. For example, you might hear, "When we don't have to spend money on customers who don't have a choice but to stay with us, then we don't have to borrow money to serve them and pay it back with interest." Or, "We can invest the savings we make by delivering substandard products or services and put those funds into something we prioritize, like research and development." Learning about CRM isn't meant to make you an adversary of your management. It's to help you help them. You've got to consider the costs and benefits of your recommendations if you want to be taken seriously. Sometimes there are issues you are not privy to, so be careful what you advocate strongly for. For example, when I worked at a beverage company, I recommended that we provide fast food restaurants with cans and bottles, along with the fountain syrup they purchased to make beverages on the spot. I thought this would be great because it's easier for consumers to hold a can or bottle when they take out food to go. What I didn't realize is that the compensation structure didn't reward my division for anything except fountain syrup sales. So what would have been customer-centric, at least in my mind, and improved the customer experience of balancing a wet cup in a paper sack, well, that solution was incompatible with how the company was structured. So I speak from experience when I counsel you to consider the best practices of the customer experience to be balanced by what is best for your company and management. So, with these cautions in mind, let's look at what may become the classic paradigm for a positive customer experience. We have 4 essentials per the author Reza Sodgar. They are relevance, convenience, responsiveness, and reliability. These are enabled by 3 key practices: operational excellence, interaction excellence, and decision-making excellence. Operational excellence means all systems are coordinated and consolidated. Product management, marketing, customer service, finance, administration, manufacturing, inventory, research and development, and the like. All relevant data is transparent, such as products that are not in stock, return rates, bestsellers, and roadmaps for change management. Interaction excellence means that all inputs have been synchronized and provide a consistent experience such that all transactions and data are immediately distributed across all channels of communications. That would be the retail location, online, phone, and technical support. For example, if a client puts an item on a wish list at an in-store kiosk, that item would immediately appear in the client's wish list on the website. Decision-making excellence means that all employees who are customer touchpoints have customer-centric rules to solve problems, respond rapidly and thoroughly to requests, and make awards of free services or other amends as needed. If a repair person is late, the customer service person can message the repair person to call the customer or find out what the holdup is. And an appropriate remedy, such as no charge for labor costs, can be arranged on the spot with the documentation sent to all relevant people and systems, so the customer doesn't have to call back and insist the labor charges should be removed. When this level of service and the systemic change is too great for an organization to bear, another choice is to do this for key accounts only. Per the author V. Kumar, key account management may be defined as the performance of additional activities or the designation of special personnel directed at an organization's most important customers. Ingram Book Printing and Distribution recently made an announcement via email that allowed customers to opt in to levels of attention. It tied higher fees to higher levels of service, which seems appropriate. The transparency of these fees and services is often welcome in a B2B environment. Lego is perhaps among the great success stories embodying the best practices of CRM to handle customers buying 19 billion components that are manufactured every year. Its segmentation of users is at the core of that success, and the pyramid paradigm for prioritizing their attention to these users is key to successful product development, paring back the product line to the most essential elements, increasing the sales and usage of product, and having the right product delivered to its channels. The goal is to move the users up the pyramid of loyalty and to collaborate directly with those at the top of the pyramid. The groups are lead users, children and adults who are heavily engaged in Lego. They're at the top of the pyramid. One-to-one layer, a group with which Lego keeps an ongoing dialogue. The community layer, users of online games and communities. Active household layer. They've bought Lego sometime in the past, and they are at the bottom of the pyramid. With Lego's SAP system and overall strategy, they are able to target the different segments with offers in line with the relationship. Lego has centralized departments having direct consumer contact, making individual interaction more structured and targeted. You will find several perspectives on Lego in the assets for this unit. Make sure to spend time reading the PDF, collaborating with customer communities, lessons from the Lego Group. This is an excellent working example of best practices with the principles and examples clearly outlined. From all the reading and review in this unit, you now know companies that should employ CRM best practices are able to do it financially. They can justify the investment. They understand that in their situation, it is not enough to simply serve customers in a random, unroutine, and uncoordinated manner. They see the financial losses they're incurring or will incur from underserving and under-engaging with customers and prospects. They know what they're doing now is not a viable long-term strategy and thus requires expert CRM. The companies that are engaged in best practices, they are characterized by 3 approaches. 1, they have an organizational attitude that makes customer retention a priority and provides employees a spectrum of ways to satisfy customers in both typical and increasingly difficult situations. 2, they use metrics, incentives, and structure, organizing on the basis of customer groups to produce the proper relationship outcomes. And 3, they gather and use information about customers that is transparent, in-depth, and relevant, and then they distribute it through enterprise-level systems. Best practices in CRM are a high bar. However, incremental change may suffice to make a big improvement in retention and attraction of customers.